Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Cafecito Power Break. I'm here with Isabel Halliday. Welcome, Isabel.
Thank you, Sandra. So excited to be here.
Yes, and today is it's cold, chilly here over here in South Florida today.
I'm
So
wearing a sweater.
I know it's exciting. I was all excited when I felt it. Um,
Yeah.
Yay, guys, it's going to be a great conversation today. So Isabel is with Chase, and I'll let you do the formal introduction. But today's a great topic because we get, especially when we think about the communities of color, right? There's a lot of baggage that has held us down, obviously, for decades, and cultural baggage that we carry on. So today we're going to dissect that. We're going to just start breaking apart what are the things that keep us having a minority mindset, and then how do we build wealth? How do we start getting in that wealth building mindset, more of that wealth building mindset through not just where we put our money, but also what the things that we do on a day-to-day basis to support us. So, Isabel, give us the formal introduction. Tell everybody who you are, who you're with, and kind of all that good stuff.
Sure. So I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually a business consultant on behalf of JP Morgan Chase. And that just really means that I have the ability to coach and mentor business owners through their entrepreneurship journey, right? So we really dig deep into finding what their challenges are and finding what their goals are. And together with those two, put a plan in place to make sure we help that business owner grow and scale. Um, through my career, I've been in the finance industry over 15 years, always laser focused around the business owners, whether it was banking, in management, lending, loans, commercial loans. I've always stuck around with business owners. So for me, it's very fitting now that I am a certified small business consultant. And I am able to help business owners not just through their banking journey and how to become lendable as a business owner, but throughout all aspects of their business, like the strategy, marketing, and we go a little bit deeper. We've also realized that the diverse community, so the Black and Brown community, is the most that we can help right now, right? So providing you the tools, the resources, the education is really going to be the key to opening that generational wealth building door, whether it's entrepreneurship or building wealth through other avenues. But we know and we understand that we need to build those bridges. And the only way we can do it is through education. So that is my job and a little bit about me. And I'm just excited to be here and see how we can help anybody connect or build that generational wealth.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into it because I'm sure everybody wants to hear. Where do we start? Let's start there. Where do we start? Do we do it? And let's consider it as businesses. We do have a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. So let's look at it from that aspect. Where would someone start and at what point? At what point do they start?
Sure. So I always say when to start now, right? Start thinking about it.
Yeah.
The easiest way that I've been able to help my family, friends, and clients to really kick that and start a mindset is thinking about your picture. We always think like, oh, if I don't buy a Starbucks coffee today, then I'm going to be able to buy a house. It takes a lot more than that, let me tell you. So I always think about the short term and the long term goals, plan them out. I see it more like a vision board, like create what you want and then put a plan in place with what you have. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's taking these little steps. So if you are in the corporate world, taking steps to grow your career and maybe start a side business while you're growing your career. But thinking about these small steps that you can take daily to make sure that you can get to your goals. The small steps in your personal finances is writing down your budget. Like a lot of us don't do that. I did not grow up thinking about that. I
Yeah.
didn't grow up thinking about having a journal where I write down my rent, my FPL, my groceries, and then I have a number, and that's what I base it out from, right? So starting a small budget is the easiest way. Sometimes we need to take a leap of faith. I think coming from a Hispanic family, it was always like, I don't do that because it could go wrong, or
Yes.
don't start that business because
That's the minority mindset. Yep.
yeah, it's that dinner table talk that we never talked about. But
Yeah.
I am the first one to say, I'm going to take a leap of faith. What's the worst that can happen? I start this business. It didn't go well. That's okay. I learned. I can progress into a different type of business, learning with what it went wrong and what went right. And
Yeah.
then I always think about also, lastly, when you're trying to change, model your good habits, because it's not about changing me. It's who else am I going to change along the way, right? I'm pulling my family with me. I want my kids I'm breaking these barriers. So
Yeah.
that's more or less what I think about when we need to start now.
I
That's
love
it.
that. Yeah. And I love that you brought in the family aspect because I think like our generation is the one that's broken that. But prior to that, it's been and it's been a source of this is the safe way. Play it safe in life because we already got a ton of obstacles against us mentality that has hindered people from having the courage to say, you know what, I could start a small business. I could start a side hustle. Okay, well, maybe that's too scary. Maybe I can't do that, and that is thinking small in a world so big when we're so divine and powerful, that is thinking small. And I'm glad that this generation has broken that thinking. I mean, we still have a lot of work to do because there's so many of us, but it's already starting to trickle down, right? The awakening is happening, the understanding of, wait
Yeah.
a second, we aren't a minority, anymore. And we shouldn't be thinking in such a difficult mindset, right? Where it's just staying small, thinking like all we're able to accomplish is small. So I
Right.
love,
I
yeah,
want to add to that sentence, though. We need to overcome that fear, because it's always that fear has just like lingered on, and Hispanic communities can't seem to shift from that survival mode to
yeah,
let's do something with it. Even though now with our cell phones, we have all the information at our fingertips,
yeah,
right? So we do see that there's a shift happening, but there's a lot more that we could do. So, we know we're getting there, but we just cannot stay away from this shift of like survival mode monetarily. It's like
yeah,
it's going to run out. It's a scarcity. So that's what we want to do, is breaking that.
yeah, yeah. So taking a leap, for sure, right? Being brave. What else can we do to start like just tearing that up and when we're faced, just what are some tips that you're
Sure.
thinking?
So,
Mm,
what I always say is surround yourself with literature, education. The more you can educate your mind, the best way that we can really start taking those. Now, you always want to get it from somebody that's reputable, right? If you're going to buy a house, you want to go speak to a mortgage consultant or somebody that's in that industry. And how do you become a lendable client to buy a house? If you want to talk about investments and how do you plan for retirement, you want to talk to an expert. So, making sure that you're always equipped with the education that's available to you. Now, part of our program is we knew that there was a lack of education and everybody was scared to go to the bank to ask, right? The bank is not the friendliest place to go ask. So, my job really is to make sure that I educate business owners or our community on how to build this wealth. But the key is always the education. So surround yourself with as much education, join the workshops, join podcasts like this, to fuel your mind into understanding. I also think that make sure that you're not the only one learning. Bring your family with you. Inherit that want to learn. Inherit also that money should be a positive topic at your dinner table. So I know at my dinner table, if money came up, it didn't happen. So talking about it, hey, we do have a budget. This is our budget, family, and this is where we're going to stick to. So don't make it so negative. Don't make it a negative conversation. And also creating different streams and revenues of income. So one of them is obviously being an entrepreneur or a solo entrepreneur, but being an entrepreneur comes with so many challenges. So always remember that just creating more sources of revenue is the best way to start building and creating that revenue, or that creating that income stream, whether you want to sell it, whether you want to pass it, whether you want it generational, whether you want to keep it. So always think that entrepreneurship can go into many different ways. Now, I'm in corporate America, but I understand that per se, unless I move my career, my salary is going to stay pretty much the same. But if I have different revenues, like a small business, investment properties, and investments in the stock market, there I have four different revenues coming in. So really that generational wealth, that's where you start seeing that needle move towards, more of a wealth building versus just paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the revenue streams that you mentioned, because I think that those are doable for everybody listening. Those are, you don't have to have $1 million to go into the stock market. You don't have to have, something crazy. A little bit will just get even. I remember the first time I put money in to the stock market, and I'm like, oh my God, I just wanted more shares. I just wanted more. And regardless, it's not something that is a short-term gain, right? So it's, you have to know going in, you're in it for the long haul. You're willing to invest in this organization, knowing that the future for sure is going to deliver a return. But being confident with that, right? I think when we put our money in the savings account, it's like, te queda ahí, and then what is it doing? Some banks pay you interest, some don't, on that money. So how do we think that that's a safe bet on its own? Is just money that's sitting
For
there?
a rainy day, you want to know where you can pull money from, because everybody thinks like, oh, I need to have $100,000 cash. But
Yeah,
what we forget is that all these other sources of revenue can also give you a quick, money back if you need it for a rainy day. So
yeah,
it's hard sometimes to get somebody to trust, for example, the stock market. But if
yeah.
you go meet with a financial advisor, and you can interview many of them. I've interviewed where my personality fits better with Sarah, and I didn't see maybe personalities with, I don't know, Paulito. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, go shop around for the advisor that fits your personality, that really has the same goals and intentions, because some are going to be more aggressive, some are going to be more conservative. And you want to have an advisor that you trust, that you know that their advice comes from the same place as you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I was having a conversation with my son not too long ago, and we're talking about it. And I'm telling, because of the Chase Building Nuestro Futuro event and the calculator. I think I talk about that all the time because I was so impressed by it. The calculator that
The
maybe
budget.
the budget calculator, and I'm like, you have to get into this. Like, this is a reason right here. Look at this. Put in some numbers and see. And he's at the perfect age at, well, he's 27, but that's a perfect age for him to start right now. Obviously the earlier the better, but right now that's his age. And I think that, some of the questions that I probably have are a lot of the questions that people ask is like, well, I don't know. And I don't want to feel dumb asking. I don't want to go to Isabel because she's going to think I'm dumb if I ask her this. Like, how do people break that minority mindset? Because that is a form of small thinking versus, yeah, I'm going to research, and it's okay that I have questions that I have unanswered and I'm going to ask.
Yeah. I think I see it as the same as when I find a doctor, right? I do a lot of research before I go in. Some doctors love it, some don't like it, and that's okay. And it's the
Yeah,
same as the financial side. But if I go to a doctor and I don't feel like it's in the best interest of what I particularly need, based on how much I like to know, I want somebody to explain and to teach and to tell me.
yeah,
Some people prefer to just go in, this is what I have, perfect. So I spend a lot of time finding my doctor, and it's the same way that I'm going to spend time finding a banker or a financial advisor, because it's of my own interest. There's not just one advisor in this world. I can find you females, males, that are conservative, that are more aggressive, that are looking more towards your retirement. Everybody has a specific niche. And I tell people, interview. It's okay. Before you get married, you date, you
yeah,
talk, you make sure you know that person. It's the same thing with your financial advisor, because you're looking for a long-term relationship, 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, until you're towards the end, and you want them to take care of your kids because you're going to introduce them to your kids. So when we're talking about bankers, CPAs, like, find the one that fits your personality, your goals, where you want to go in life, and make sure that they have the same intention.
Yeah, that's so true. And you know what? Whether or not someone feels financially ready, the time is right now to start
Yes.
interviewing. I've sat with, I remember one individual, and we she wanted to have a meeting, and we sat together, and she just went straight to numbers. I'm like, but I don't even know you. Like, I don't even haven't even got. I don't know if you know even know me. She
Sandra, there's people that want that. They don't want that small talk.
Yeah,
Some people want to just go into business, but you and I want to know who I'm dealing with. I want to
yeah,
know who's dealing with my money that I work so hard.
yeah,
So, and if you don't know anybody, now you know me, or whoever needs to reach out. And connecting with personalities and interviewing is probably one of my favorite things to do, but also it's one of the most important gifts that I can give somebody being in the industry is connecting you with somebody that will be able to help you, that I would send my mother to, that I would send my kids to.
yeah. Yeah, that's so important. Like, I think that far too often, as the majority of our community is carrying this baggage around. It's like, man, the time is now to break free from these chains, right? Like, we need to start thinking of how we're going to position ourselves. All these having multiple forms of income. Look at where technology is taking us. AI is becoming like, okay, well, who knows in 10 years if your position is going to be available, it's going to still be around. So it's so important now more than ever, I feel like, to make sure that you are putting those checker pieces like on your set, and making sure that you're strategically positioned to make some moves.
Yeah.
And that comes to when you're looking at wealth. And I love that, when you're looking at real estate, or whether you're looking at some businesses that you maybe want to invest in. I think it's important to get that out of your system and start now with that, owning that courage and that
Yeah.
bold mindset of saying,
Yeah.
this is the opportunity. The time is now, at least for me, to educate. To
Yeah.
educate.
Sandra, sometimes the fear is even within us, right? We don't want to face the music.
Mm,
Sometimes we're like, I don't even want to look at my budget because I already know I don't even have a budget. So a
yeah.
lot of business owners will come and say, hey, I want a loan. Okay, what are your revenues? What are your debts? And then like a week later, they'll start with, oh, but I also have a credit card that's past due. And then I also have this. So it's like facing what's happening. It's okay. The important part is that you face it and that we put a plan in place to fix it,
Mm.
right? Because we always say, oh, I'll turn a blind eye and I'll look at it next week.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that, because turning a blind eye is a minority mindset. I'm adding that to the list.
It is completely. We have that fear. We have that survival mode where like, no quiero ver. I don't want to look. I'd rather not look because I'm fine now that I'm not looking.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not going to move. You're going to be in the same position next
Yeah,
year. So wishing, unfortunately, doesn't get us anywhere. We have to take action.
we do.
So how do we now, let's say we have that mindset, we're ready. How do we think about approaching wealth building, and approaching that? And I love all the channels, but because I want to do all of them, right? Everybody listens like, I want a little bit of everything. So, but what would you feel? And obviously for legal reasons, this is not financial advice to
Yeah.
anybody in particular. We have to put that disclaimer in there. But it's but broad advice, where do we think about, um, where do we start?
So, number one, and this is going to be on the personal side, have a budget. Number one, that's step
Mhm.
one. And I wouldn't even go further than that. Once you have a budget, you make a list of your expenses and what's coming in, and then you see what you have left.
Okay.
Basic. Number
Okay.
one,
All
right?
right. Mm-hmm.
Number two, if you really want to start investing or you want to start a business, think about your why. And when I think about investing, I think about my why. And when I'm starting a business, I think about my why. Here's the reason. Why do I want to invest? Do I want to invest to retire in 10 years, or do I want to invest to retire in 40 years? Why do I want to invest? I want to invest because I want to buy an investment home for my kids as a college fund, for example, right? So that's my why in investing. Now, when you're thinking about your why as a business owner, why do I want to start this business? Why is this business needed in my community? Why am I building this generational wealth as a business? I have 2 kids. I want to leave them that generational business. Maybe they won't want to take it, but that's my intention. Maybe they'll sell it later. Maybe it'll be a great idea and I'll plan on selling it earlier. But I always think about the why behind what you're doing and the decisions you're making in your finances is critical, because it's ourselves. We put 90% emotion in our decisions. But when we start writing down, like, this is my why, and now I need a business plan, and this is how I'm going to get there. So if I'm investing, I plan on investing. I'm going to do the top investments, to not name any, to the top investments, and I'm going to do $50 every 2 weeks. I'm just going to put it in that account and let it auto invest. That's my plan. This is how I'm going to get there. And my plan is that if with those $50 a month in the next 10 years, maybe I'll have $1 million. And that's a very vague example, but that's really how you want to go step by step. When you're talking about a business owner, you want to think your why. Prepare a business plan, whether it's a small canvas or a very large one, and have your ideas, your projections. Where do you want to take this business? And then start putting it together little by little. I always give an example of a tanning salon. So some businesses, you don't need a lot of investment to start, right? So if I have $300, I can buy the spray tanning machine, the spray tanning solution, and I can probably learn myself or have somebody that knows teach me for free. And just there, I just started a small business, right? I can go advertise my business and start spray tanning maybe in college campuses or locally with friends and start spreading the word. So I always think that you don't have to think that you need $50,000 to start a business. You can start smaller businesses with a lot less than that. But it's how you drive that growth that's going to get you from a few $1,000s a month to a few $100,000 a month, right? So the same way that I started with $300, a spray tanning machine, myself spray tanning, I can add employees, I can create a franchise, I can create a school. So it's like, how do you take a $300 investment and
Yeah.
make it worth your while? Well, you need to start somewhere, but create a path that you have that growth. Now, I could stay as spray tanning for a long time and just do it for myself and make, good money weekly on that. I could. But if I want to grow and scale, then I got to start thinking about franchising and making it bigger. But that's just an example of how even $300 can get you to be an entrepreneur. But
Yeah.
what you need is the will, the why, and motivation to move that marketing and make your business development side grow.
I love that. The will, the why, and the motivation, which is what stops most people.
All
Um,
of it.
yeah, I mean, you can have the will, but if you don't exactly know the why, and you don't have the motivation because you don't have a plan, you don't see it. It's like, oh wow, that would be great if I was making 500,000 a month. I can't see how that's possible. If you can't see it, then it just seems, oh, it'll always seem elusive to you. But if you start putting a plan in place, like how could those numbers actually work? The same way I did my budget. Let me now look at a plan. Let me look at my revenue. How many one tanning bed generates me X? If I invest in the second one or the third one, what does that input? How can I now see how I can get myself to the number that I want?
Yeah,
I
it's
love
true.
that.
But it's always the fear of what if it doesn't work out that
Yeah,
stops us every time.
yeah, yeah. That's the hindrance that we want to
We want to
replace.
break.
Yeah, because you're not going to get, I speak to entrepreneurs all the time, and so many are afraid to do the little things, right? They're like, I have this business. It's not generating anything, or it's generating a little bit. They have, a couple clients, some online, and it's okay. Well, what are you doing? What's your plan here? And it's like, I don't know. I'm just throwing, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall. And I'm like, well, I think we need to like think about a strategic plan. Like this is a serious, opportunity for you to, you don't have any of those pieces in place. And I think that those are one of the things that lacks is the full education, right? The more education that you have about how you can go about doing things, the more that you start seeing, okay, I can apply that to my business.
Yeah, and I always say, like, we always think about marketing, right? You cannot get new clients without marketing your business or business development. But
Mhm.
everybody asks, how much do I spend on marketing? Should I hire a firm? It doesn't matter. You can move it yourself, and it takes a lot of time and it's very challenging, or you can hire somebody. But what's important is that for every dollar you spend on marketing, you want to make sure you get three back. So that's usually the key of, if you want to spend on marketing, that's fine, but make sure that it's worth your while. You want that growth, you want new clients. Knocking door to door maybe doesn't work as well. It's knocking door to door is now knocking on Instagram accounts and on TikToks.
Yeah.
But you need to move those. That takes just as much work as when we used to cold call, right?
Yeah, that's today's version of cold calling is
Yes.
messaging. And so many people are afraid, even emailing. I have clients that are like, oh, I'm afraid to send emails. I don't want to bother them. They're gonna unsubscribe if I send them. I'm like, well, they're useless right now. You know, they signed up and you haven't mailed them anything, so you don't got nothing to lose. You know,
Yeah.
at this point. But it's that fear that I'm like, man, this is all community. This is not just the Latino community. This is like communities of color overall. Just have that mindset. Like, I'm afraid to email them. I'm afraid to message them. And I always tell the story of my son in the squeaky wheel. Like, he wanted to be a racetrack mechanic. He wanted to be involved in that. And I told him, just, go. It doesn't matter if they're hiring. Go and message them. So he messaged an Instagram account of a team and didn't reply back right away. And then, like, he brought it up. It was just stirring in his heart as a little kid. And I'm like, well, keep pinging them. The greasy wheel is the one that gets the grease. The one that's making the noise is the one you're going to pay attention to. And lo and behold, like, he pinged them one day and they're like, we're actually doing a race this weekend. We're down one person. Would love for you to come up to Daytona. And that was 3 years later. He's been a racetrack mechanic, and now he just,
Wow.
yeah. And I'm all because he just kept pinging an Instagram account for a total stranger that
Yeah.
said, I'm interested in this. I can do this. And it comes to fruition.
Us humans are afraid of rejection, and I
Yeah.
get that. But we have to make sure that when we get rejected, don't take it as a negative. Take it as, this door is not for me. Let me move on to the next. In the beginning of my banking career, I would cold call maybe about 70 people a day. Ask me how many would actually give me a yes.
How
3 or
many?
4.
Yeah.
3 or 4. So how many rejections would I get?
Yeah.
So, you have to be okay with rejections. It's not a rejection. It's not now or not today, right? And keep going.
I love it. I love it. Oh my God. We're already like close to time. And there's just so much I think we need to
I
cover.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, so let's wrap it up. Like, give us a closing statement of, you know what, when it comes to this minority mindset and looking at building wealth, how would you like summarize it up for people?
I always say, have our diversity be the power behind what we do, right? So don't look at it as a crutch. We always like to say, oh, because, I would say, because I'm Latina, maybe that's why this happened to me. No, no, no. I'm proud to be a Latina, and there's absolutely nothing in today's world that's going to stop anybody from being a successful entrepreneur or a successful and generational wealth, only yourself. And at this point in life, if you have the will to do it, there's educational resources, networks, different forms that you can educate yourself and fuel. So in today's world, being diverse is not a handicap anymore. I see it more like it's fuel for us to be better, to grow. And that's how I live day by day.
I love, 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 love that. And for those of you listening that are in the Miami and South Florida area, we're actually doing an in-person event, and with the support of Chase and JP and I always say those backwards for some
Yes.
but that's going to be on January 23rd. We'll have the save the date and the flyer up soon. But Isabel, it's been such a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to do more things together and to learn and continue to educate our communities and just be a support. The more that we have this going, the more that somebody listens to it, and then that day is going to come where the light switch that went up. I get it now, and I understand that it's me who's been in my way, right? It's us who are in our own way, and we need to release that and go forward because life is this one shot, right? Live it boldly.
Yes,
Create
I
your
agree. Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Isabel. We will see you guys next week. Stay tuned and be blessed.